Welcome back to the ETF Inspector. It's Thursday, May 22nd. This will be the video where we go over the trades and holdings performed today for YieldMax's ULTY Ultra Option Income Strategy ETF and also YieldMax's LFGY, the Crypto Industry and Tech Portfolio Option Income ETF. Both of these had their distribution declaration yesterday along with all the other weeklies and Group B. So just a real quick recap for them. ULTY paid out 9.79 cents on a $6.10 closing price, and LFGY paid out 49.16 cents on a $40.35 closing price. And as far as how the stocks performed today, if you saw on the thumbnail, mostly green, a little bit of red sprinkled in. Just want to address one quick thing. People complain about these types of funds saying, oh, it's all about NAV erosion, the NAV just keeps dropping. Well, ULTY closed yesterday at 610, paid out a 9.79 cent dividend, and closed today at 610. So not so much the case. And then even better, if you look at LFGY, they closed yesterday at $40.35, paid out a 49-cent dividend, and closed today at $40.64. And just so you're aware, the stock price starts the 9.79 cents and the 49.16 cents lower than what it closed the day before as the break even. So no NAV erosion there. We got the dividend, and it actually even made money on LFGY. So big picture before we dig in, ULTY's top winner was IonQ, which hurt me lots because I had a call sold for them in the 30s, and it went to $45.79 after gaining over 36%. A couple other honorable mentions were Rigetti at 26+% increase, and Snowflake at 13% increase. Biggest loser for the ULTY fund was Hims and Hers, dropped 7.72%. As far as LFGY, just in case I forget later, the biggest winner was GameStop with a 10% increase, and the biggest loser was CleanSpark with a 2.37% loss. So that's a good day when your biggest loser is down 2% in this fund, right? Because these are all volatile stocks. That's why they play them. All right, so we'll start with ULTY. Had a handful of trades today. Sold 40,000. This isn't contracts when it comes to the stock itself. It's only contracts when we talk about options. So 40,000 shares of CoreWeave. I don't believe that's all of them. No. So just sold some of it. I think that was getting to be, almost 6%. I'm not sure why they did it, but sold 40,000 shares of that and closed out the calls that were sold and the puts that were purchased to go along with those 40,000 shares. The 400 contracts got closed out, almost at break even. So, okay, ASTS, AST Space Mobile, they closed for this week the Fridays calls at 27 and 28, and sold next week all at 26. Overall, profiting $184,000. So that was a win, right? Closing out these at the end of the week for 4 and 5 cents is nice. Selling the next ones a little bit lower, 55 and 75 cents. And of course, if you're not familiar or if you're new here, they do a collar type strategy. It helps protect the shares that you do have. So they sell calls trying to make money on that, and then they buy puts. So if the stock price drops, they are able to protect their stocks. these funds are slightly different than the individuals. The individuals create synthetics and don't actually own the stocks, and ULTY owns the stock. So does LFGY. All right, Hims and Hers closed out this week's 67 for 6 cents, another win. Sold next week's for 61, so pretty big decrease. Got $1.40 per share, 2,000 contracts, each contract worth 100 shares. So they made 228,000 there. I think we already talked about CoreWeave, but they lost 50,000 closing those out. IonQ, this is the big one. It went up 36% in a day. Hard to win when your calls get blown through like that. It seems like they caught them early enough in the day, though, because they only paid $7.50 to close them out, and the stock went up more than $10 above that, and there was still time value. So they got these early in the morning. Either way, hurt a lot. Lost $1.8 million on that roll. Rolled up to 47 for next Friday. RH closed their 23s out for this Friday and opened 1950s for next Friday. Paid 30 cents to close them. Sold them for $6.20. Big win. Overall netting a profit of $67,000. TNA, that's the triple leveraged bull small cap fund, closed out their 3150s for tomorrow, 2 cents. That's a win. Actually got more money selling the puts to go with them than they paid to close out, so that works out nice. And then they sold 30s for next week, overall profiting $55,000. TQQQ, the other triple leveraged fund, is closed their 73s for 9 cents. That's another win. Sold 72s for next week, $1.38, making $72,000. And finally, Upstart was the last trade. In ULTY, they closed their 49s at 7 cents. That's a win. Sold 47.50s next week for 87 cents. Overall, making $69,000. So if it wasn't for IonQ, it would have been a great day trading, but nothing you can do there. Total trading for the day, lost 1.2 million, and you can see how we did also on the value of the shares, so we'll get into that next. So I just did something a little different. If the positions got rolled to next week, I went ahead and put yellow here under the today's closing price. That way we don't have to sit and talk about how high in or out of the money the options are, because these don't exist anymore and they've been rolled out. Okay, so we don't update anything on this side until tomorrow when the holdings download comes out. The evening today, the trades download comes out. So that's how we got all the trades on the last page, and then these closing prices will compare to where everything opens, so you can see the percentage change and the change in market value, and what that did to the option as far as taking it higher, lower, in or out of the money. Okay, so C3.ai went up almost 4% to 22.73. That's going to end up making these a win. These are actually already sold out till next week, so they won't be closing these tomorrow, but they're 12% out of the money. That's nice. Almost $300,000 increase in value. And they didn't sell any of these other than CoreWeave, the shares themselves, so none of these gains or losses are actually locked in except for whatever they gained or lost on CoreWeave. AST Space Mobile up 2.43% to 24.41. They already rolled their options. Their value of their stocks went up to $75,000. Webull up 7.23% to $13.50. Luckily, they were far enough in the money that their options are still in the money. They were far enough out of the money that their options, even after going up 7%, are still out of the money. We want them to end out of the money for the week, and it looks like they're heading that way as long as they don't have a big day tomorrow. Gained $637,000 in value. Coinbase up 5% even to $271.95. Their calls are still almost 3% out of the money. So that's working out for us. $596,000 increase. CoreWeave lost 6.73% to $100.16. Lost 1.1 million in value. They still have a couple of these options that are out of the money by nearly 10 and nearly 12%. They closed out the highest one, the furthest one out of the money. Dell Technology barely up a fraction to $111.95, increase in value of $1,400. Their options still 7% out of the money. First Solar down 4.3% to $156.35. They lost $315,000 in value, and the options are nearly 12% out of the money. Hims and Hers, we talked about it. They rolled these the next week, but they lost 7.72%. So that's how they were able to close these out at such a win. They were so far out of the money. 53.52 is the closing price on the stock, and a loss of almost $900,000 in value. Robinhood up 1.42% to $64.77. Still slightly out of the money, nearly 2% on the $66 calls, and the 67s are 3.4% out of the money. With one trading day left on the 66s, the 67s are out till next week. I think I said it. $197,000 increase in value. IonQ, this was the big one, right? So it hurt us to the tune of, was it $1.8 million lost rolling those, but almost $4 million gained in value in one day on that 36% increase to $45.79. That's going to make them, no, they're still only 3.76%, 10 million. They've still got much bigger holdings. Okay, sorry, I feel like I'm trailing off here. Mara Holdings lost 1.2% to $15.65. Their calls ending tomorrow are almost 12% out of the money, lost $118,000. Marvell, that's the new one from yesterday, went up 2.89% to $61.85. These are out till next week, so we're not worried about them yet, but they are 8% out of the money, increased the value by $217,000. MicroStrategy lost 0.8% to $399.46. That's helping to keep these out of the money, so we'll hopefully be able to close these out. I mean, you can see these were barely 2% out of the money when the day started, and they were still worth $7.70. These will expire at zero tomorrow if the stock price stays below 405. But so just to see how much premium you get on MicroStrategy is crazy. So we lost $122,000 in value on that. NVIDIA up 0.78% to $132.83. The calls for next Friday are 8% out of the money. They won't be closing them out tomorrow. $133,000. I really appreciate them getting a bunch pushed out till next week, so I don't have such a crazy Friday with trading every single stock. Oklo up nearly 8% to $39.72. Still 7% out of the money. So they were way out of the money before today. Gained $872,000 in value. Palantir up 1.42% to $122.29. So as long as they stay under 126, these will all expire worthless. Increase in value of $225,000. Reddit up 2.58% to $98.32. 8.8% out of the money. Nearly $250,000 value added. Rigetti was your second biggest winner, up 26%, increased in value by close to $2 million. $13.86 is how it ended, and took them way out. Now, I thought we talked about trading Rigetti. I guess not. All right, so that's a painful one. So they're hoping that these come back down tomorrow. Because if they would have closed them before today, they were 4 cents when the stock market closed yesterday or opened this morning. It would have been 4 cents to close out, and then I'm sure they're over $1 now. So, all right. RH, I thought we talked. Okay, we talked about them during the trades. So these have been rolled the next week, so no need to worry about it. They lost 4.26% to 187.26, and a loss of 170,000. SMCI lost about 0.79% to 41.32. Those are almost 14% out of the money, and a loss of 44,000. Here's another over $1 million gain on Snowflake. That was your third place increase, 13.43% to 203.18. Over $1 million added, 1.5% in the money now on those, and they did not close them out. So they're trying to let some time decay and hope for a little pullback. TNA, we talked about this. About half of them got rolled till next week. Barely changed, negative 0.04%, $3,000 loss. 28.43 is the closing price. And we still, okay, so we rolled these the next week, and the other ones that are 14% out of the money were already out the next week. Same goes for TQQQ. Half of them are already rolled the next week, and we rolled the other half to next week. It went up 0.5% to 68.29, $85,000 value added. Tesla up nearly 2% to $341.04. These are 5.5% out of the money, so these will do a nice job decaying tomorrow. $295,000 value added. Upstart up 3.89% to 45.63, gaining 377,000 in value, and half of them were already rolled the next week, and today they rolled the other half. So the ones that are there are already 6% out of the money. Vertiv up 0.5% to 104.20. So they've still got stuff for this week. It's 4% out of the money. Should be expiring worthless. 109. So as long as the stock doesn't go up $5 tomorrow, $40,000 added, and 185,000 added for Vistra Corp after a 1.74% increase to 154.72. These are still 3% out of the money and 5% out of the money for next week. So overall, if you remember, if you watched yesterday's video, we had just broken 300 million, but then we took a $7.5 million loss. So we said we just got there and we pulled back. Well, we also added 2.8 million more shares to the outstanding shares, so that brought in plenty of money. We actually started the day at 308, and then we increased in value by $8.8 million. So overall, fund grows. As always, don't pay attention to this NAV. That won't be able to be updated until I get the holdings in the morning, and I have all these today's closing prices will switch over to here, which will increase the market values by that 8 million, and it will give me all the updated options prices to change all the numbers in between. Okay, our underlyings weighted 30-day IV is 77%. So currently 77% times $6.10, our closing price is going to run. We're just aiming for another 9-ish cents week next week. Okay. On to LFGY. We cover it a little bit differently. If you're not sure what we got going on here. There we go. So we'll look at the trades first. So LFGY is a lot different, if you didn't already know. So this is your crypto and your tech industry, but they don't trade this one the same way as ULTY. ULTY seems to stick to a pretty strict pattern. LFGY is kind of all over the place, right? We're selling 23 shares or something. We're selling 7 contracts, 1 contract, 2 contracts. So we're not going to sit here and break down and go, we made $100 here, we made $24 there. Yeah, there's a 15. Okay, so I still track all the trades, but we just total them up. So sold a lot of shares, but didn't completely sell out of any of the shares. So they just seem to buy and sell the stocks themselves along with the options on a daily basis. All right, so all that trades today. Let's see if there's anything really worth noting. I mean, so we could say we close these out at 19 cents. That's going to be a win, but $600. That's funny. Closing at 15 cents. That's a win. Coin. Not sure if $1.35 is a win or not. Coors closing out at 13 is a win. Closing out at 18 cents is a win. Hut closing out at 19 cents is a win. Mara 11 cents is a win. These are probably a couple of losses. That definitely MBTX at 16.22 paid to close. Same thing with Melly Mercado Libre for MicroStrategy. Now I'm not sure why in the world did they pay $2.66 to close 427? I might be thinking of yesterday. I thought MicroStrategy was down to like 399. Yeah. So stock ended at 399 and we're paying a lot of money to close out a 427. That's odd, but closing out NU for 4 cents, that's a win. Closing out Opera for 23 cents is a win. Nvidia is probably a loss, 242. PayPal 29 cents, it's probably a win. Riot for 10 cents is a win. Tesla for 247 is probably a loss, and Block for 59 cents could be a win or a loss. So big picture, shares. Well, we didn't talk about shares yet. Trading, we made $1.3 million in trading today. If we just take that, what I've done each day, take how much they made, divide it by the amount of shares. So we made 19 cents a share on Monday, 2 cents a share on Tuesday, 4 on Wednesday, and 47 on Thursday. Now, don't get it twisted. That doesn't mean we're going to pay out this huge amount. It'll help go towards our estimate. It'll help us gauge whether we're going to be a little bit higher than the average or lower. But right now, we're tracking towards higher. Right? So making money every day on trades so far. And we had one big loss on a share value day, but we've got more than enough to cover that. So looks like we should, as long as we have a good trading day tomorrow, we can expect average or better on our distribution next week. All right, we'll get through these quickly. BitDeer up 2.24% to 1508, 6% out of the money on their calls closing tomorrow, 104,000 added. Clean Spark down 2.37 to 987. They've got 3 different calls. All of them are out of the money, 1, 6, and 21%. At least these 2 are for this week. Let's see. Yeah, this last one's for next week, so that one won't get closed out. Coinbase, we already talked about, up 5%. 271.95, a gain of 848,000 in value. That's a nice one. That's one of their biggest, if not their biggest holding, 14.5% of the fund. Core Scientific up 0.46% to 1083, 26,000 added. And we're looking at 1.5% out of the money for tomorrow. That other one's for the next Friday. GameStop up 10%. Made them almost $500,000. It's going to cost them a little bit to close out their 30/50s, but not too bad, right? Because it's only 36 cents above that. Robinhood up 1.42%. They're going to be paying to close out their 62s with the stock price at 64.77. Increased the value of 85,000. Their other calls are 0.36% out of the money for this week and 9.62% for next week. Hut 8 Corp up 4.4%, nearly $250,000 added, 1708's the stock price, still 5% under the $18 call strikes. They don't trade options on iBit, they just trade it. It went up 2.33% to 63.23. They gained 268,000 in value. Mara Holdings lost 1.2. We found that out on the ULTY portion. Their calls are 11 and 15% out of the money going into tomorrow. And then they've got MBTX. They don't own the shares. They just trade it. But these are out till June, so we don't need to worry about that right now. They're $3 in the money, 1.27%. MELI or Mercado Libre up a fraction to 26.06. They've got 26.60s sold for Friday, so as long as it doesn't go up $54 tomorrow, they'll be closed out cheap. $8,000 added. MicroStrategy, they lost $100,000 with the 0.8% loss to 399.46, and we got calls at 415 and 427. But we talked about they sold some of these, or they bought to close some of these 427s, and actually they paid even more than that. So MicroStrategy must have started the day up and then dropped. Let's see. Oh yeah. So it looked like a bad day. That's why they closed them out, right? 427s, the stock got up to 425. If they'd have just held on, they'd have been real cheap by the end. Bad luck. NU Holdings up 2.17% to 1225, a gain of 95,000. These calls are out till next week, 6% out of the money. NVIDIA, we're nearing the end. We can see the bottom. NVIDIA up 0.78% to 132.83. Calls are out till next Friday at 142. They're about 7% out of the money, a gain of 23,000. Opera lost 0.36% to 1784, a loss of 17,000. And their calls are out till June 20th. I wonder why. A lot of stocks don't always offer all the weeklies, so maybe that's the only choice. PayPal lost 0.28% or $9,000 to 71.45. Their calls are closing tomorrow. 73 is the strike. They're 2% out of the money. Riot up 1.13%, but their calls are still 6 and 11% out of the money, closing tomorrow. Gained 56,000, closed at 894. Tesla up 1.92 to 341.04, 100,000 added. And let's see, these are till next week, so 5.5 and 9.2% out of the money. Finally, Block Inc. XYZ up 5.25%. Luckily, we had a little bit of wiggle room, so we're still 1% out of the money. 58.35 with 59 on the strike. 434 contracts for tomorrow, 12 contracts for next week. 129,000 added, and like we already talked about, we made almost $2.1 million in value added to the fund. LFGY closed, like I talked about, actually higher than it closed yesterday, even after paying us out the 49-cent dividend in between. So that's nice. 62% is the I don't want to be in that. 62% is in the 30-day IV weighted average. So if we take that, multiply it by our closing price, we're still sitting around a 48 and change cent distribution that we're working towards next week. So that'll update tomorrow after I update the holdings, and 75,000 more shares were purchased for the fund. So we're up to 2.875 million. I don't know why I said it like that. And it's a $114 million fund, but we added 2, so we are going to be around 116-ish, 117. All right. Feel like I've been talking forever. Okay. So that's everything. So if you made it this far, you deserve the dad joke of the day. I thought it was pretty funny, but maybe just because I have a whole house full of girls. So before I tell you, as always, thank you. Thanks for watching. Thanks for the comments. Thanks for everything you do. Please like, subscribe, share. Help me get to my goal of 1,000 subscribers. All right, dad joke of the day. Do mascara and lipstick ever argue? Sure, but then they make up. All right, guys. That's it for Thursday. Last trading day of the week tomorrow, and then you're not getting Monday. So hopefully you can get it done tomorrow and then enjoy your long holiday weekend. I'll still make a video tomorrow, and I'll put out a look ahead on the weekend, but I might put it out on Monday since the trading week won't start till Tuesday. It'll just depend on how my weekend plans go. So thank you and good night.